We actually have a okay, guys. It's August 16th, so tonight we're going to talk a little bit about entities. We'll touch a little bit on banking, or for your entity. We're also going to talk a little bit about. We're going to go into a couple different things. I'm going to show you the Wyoming company that Kevin and I have with it's a little outdated one. It's two parts. So I'm going to show you guys what the part that is actually filed with Wyoming is, and what the part that is not filed with Wyoming that has all the partners on it. It's that one's a little outdated. We actually have to update that because we had a change in partners since it was filed. So we're going to cover that, and then I'm going to go into a purchase and sale agreement for wholesalers, which is pretty good, and then A and B and the B to C, just to help people. We're going to start breaking into next week of doing a cost of capital calculator. I'm going to provide it. It is actually in the files tab, so you guys can download it. Making sure that you guys have at least the two calculators and analyzers we're going to be using the first Wednesday after Labor Day when we return from the Labor Day break. And then we're going to go 8-9 weeks of just basically doing analyzers, calculators, and a lot of data entry and stuff is going to happen over the next 8 or 9 weeks after that. So you guys finish up, and then we obviously want to get people EMD gap transaction lenders, start loaning money, start working at the first positions, start working at the brokers. That's going to be the best way to do it, because that way, you guys aren't a lot of the EMD gap guys. You guys don't want to have people like come into you from the public, and we understand that. So we'll have a public face in the EMD gap. Well, and that's what we're going to continue to talk about on Monday. So I'm just going to get here to reinforce that, because we get a lot more traction with associates watching this video on Wednesday than a Monday. And I can track that with YouTube. It doesn't show up on the Facebook. I can actually see how many watch hours, and it's good because obviously this is a private. We don't put this out to the public. I'll put maybe two. I'll put like one or two videos that have ever been like 10 just to promote. But I haven't gotten to the point where I know how to do clips yet. It's kind of one of those things on YouTube you got to learn, and Zoom and all that stuff. But there's actually better software than Zoom to be doing these. But so be it. I'm going to be spending a lot of time with Lightspeed. So that's kind of what's going to be the schedule. Is I want to make sure also that like I said, the EMD gap guys don't get overwhelmed by most people want to be kind of a little passive, or they want to, if you guys want to be out there, if you intend to, be real estate and, and you want to be out there, that's cool. It's like everything we do it's your money, your decision. It's also your entity, your decision. We kind of, I'm going to work with everybody on how they want to set up their own things. Just as long as, here's some suggestion. Like if you guys don't want to do Wyoming, that's cool. I'm just educated because you guys will run into people a lot of times who are borrowing from you or something, and they're going to ask you. So at least you can kind of give a little bit of insight, to what and you don't want to claim you're an expert. I was helping Doris earlier. Doris is on now. She's setting up her entity in Pennsylvania, and so we're able to. And I'll kind of mention that. So in Pennsylvania, and she can actually register. She can sign up for a new LLC there as the corporation and as her holding company in Wyoming, but she has to sign it her name as, and print it as authorized representative. And so you want to make sure in your state, pull up with the Secretary of State. I don't know. Some states have different terminology. Obviously, in Colorado, I can do an LLC in less than like 3 minutes online. It's pretty simple form compared to what I've seen some other states. So keep in mind, I'm more of an expert on my state I live now. It's got a lot of stuff right there, but the Wyoming stuff I'm going to kind of touch on a little bit tonight, and so I'm going to do some screen sharing. Obviously, you guys know there's still glitches and stuff with me, but I'm going to screen share a couple things tonight. And then Kevin's on now, so we'll talk a little bit about our, I'm going to show you guys our forms, and then Kevin and Jesse and I have to actually update our our operating agreement. So Kevin, I'm going to show them a couple of our Wyoming documents just so they understand a little bit how Wyoming is set up with Riley, he's our registered agent there. So I'm going to pull that up first document. Let me go and pull this up. And I also, we're going to talk about shelf companies, guys, believe it or not, tonight. A lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah, they're not table companies, they're shelf companies. There is a big difference.
Yeah, there's shelf companies and shelf. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I just went through the Zoom hell to get here.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like this is my commute, people. On Wednesday nights, I get on here about 5 minutes before, and I start going through the process of getting signed into Zoom. 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes later, depending upon the traffic, I finally show up at the office. Okay. Oh God.
So this
Oh,
is this is one of the companies. Obviously, this is the Wyoming form, right? So you guys have seen the one that I promote. I have WyomingCompany.com, which isn't this company. I do have some LLCs with them. This is the company, Wyoming. It's registered agent.net. It's in Buffalo, Wyoming. They actually are Buffalo, closer to Sheridan. Obviously, the address is here in Sheridan, Wyoming. You guys can see. So I'm going to show you. This is actually what it's filed with the state of Wyoming. So I want to kind of give it with our company, Private Money Holdings LLC. Private Money Authority is actually still an LLC in Denver, in Colorado. But Private Money Holdings owns that LLC. And so this is the one that I have with Kevin and Jesse Page. Then I have another LLC for some of my other stuff, and then I have another LLC, obviously, for my Big Rock brand that you guys see me talk about, the Hot Sauce Buffalo. So I have three really holding companies, which gives me a lot of protection on, and they're not all, none of them are tied to each other. So it's great with that. So I'm just going to kind of go through this. Obviously, we're Private Money Holdings LLC. We have our physical address is in Sheridan, Wyoming, registered agents. That's their official name. So you guys are going to see quickly. The only thing is on here is Private Money Holdings, but Kevin and Jesse aren't on here. Riley Park is our registered agent. We registered this in 2019. He's the authorized individual to the state of Wyoming. Obviously, his reports, this is, official. So this is the official paperwork in Wyoming, and so you're going to go through here and, he basically is our agent. So he's checking all these boxes. I am the person whose signature appears in the filing. He's authorized to file these documents on behalf. We have to update it in October, so we have to redo it because I have to renew this in October. But so if you get down here in this Doris, it might be similar to Pennsylvania. The filer is an organization. So obviously he's well known in Wyoming. I mean, Secretary of State, he's probably got a couple thousand that people that he represents. So does Wyoming Company, which also goes into, they also have stealth companies and they can help set express and all that stuff. I'll put the websites in for both companies. But this just kind of goes into Wyoming, guys. And it shows Riley Park is our representative. You only see Private Money Holdings, and it's signed obviously with the filed online Secretary of State of Wyoming. So all you see is Private Money Holdings LLC. There's nothing tracking me, Kevin, or Jesse. We had some other partners in originally. We had a partner named Sean, and we had a couple other ones. And we actually set it up as a manager, as a managed by. You guys will see our manager, and then we have to update it now because we no longer going to be using a manager. So I'm just going to do a quick review, guys. This is actually what shows up in Wyoming if you register in Wyoming. Your LLC is, I don't know, Doris, yours might be similar, probably.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, this is the Wyoming form. So it talks about, registered agents. This is our registered office, 30 North Gould Street is actually our company address as well. We have a different suite. So you guys, this is pretty cool. This is so Wyoming offers something called COPE, which is Charging Order Protection Entity. So a charging order is basically when a judge actually would provide a writ, which is kind of a civil version of a warrant, a writ that basically allows them to, garnish or, basically when you have to pay when you lose a lawsuit. Well, charging order protection entity, you cannot, you are protected. Who are they going to serve here? They're going to serve Riley Park, but he's not, he's not the company, so it gives us protection. We're anonymous. And then also with it's by Wyoming law, we don't pay corporate income tax. We don't pay personal income tax either. Like here's an ironic thing. You guys know Mega Millions a couple weeks ago was what, almost 2 billion. So if a person won our Mega Millions in Wyoming, they were going to get $493 million after taxes. In Colorado, they were going to get 448 million after taxes. That's actually the difference in state income tax and not in no state income tax. So you guys want to look into Wyoming, and then what you have to do is if you're in other states, you need to pull up the Secretary of State's office. We would actually register if we were going to go any other state. Private Money Holdings will actually be the owner, and then we would be as authorized representative. We're not the owner, we're at the authorized representative when we do another entity in Colorado, in Kansas, in Missouri, in Ohio, wherever you are, you're the authorized authorized representative. And most states are gonna have an instruction form at the end, and it'll tell you what they want. You know, if they require a different term, then authorized registration, authorized representative. So that is the Wyoming form in itself. And I'm going to bring up um gosh, this still sucks. I hate this. This one gets a little bit more intense. So this is actually what they provide for us. We go on their website, you can go and you can actually do this in like 5-10 minutes and put in information, how you want to be set up. So I'll put that website for them. The Wyoming company is a little bit more detailed. They have a lot more services on their thing. You can get pretty involved on that site because you can go to the age. I'm going to show you guys age self companies. I've actually got an old list, so but I was going to show you guys that after this, and then we're going to go into what really tonight's focus is going to be on. And I'm going to show you guys a wholesale purchase and sale agreement, the A to B and the B to C. And then, like I said, next week we're going to cover operating agreements and we're going to do cost to capital. And then you guys will have a break for Labor Day week, and then we will come back and we will be doing calculators and analyzers from and deal analysts from through the rest of the 16 weeks. So this is this is what they tell us. So you guys can just read this on your own. I mean, right now I'll hold this up for a couple minutes. This is from them. So they provide you obviously with a login, and you can go get all your documents, you do all your updates, you pay your renewals through them. They pay the state. So there's a portal they give you access to, and they count. So and you can do a trust through them. I think a trust you file with Wyoming, it's $100. You pay them $100 for a year. So for like $200, you could establish a trust, and you can get all the way up to what they call 1,000-year spendthrift trust. Wyoming actually was where the first state where there was ever an LLC. When you hear about Delaware and Nevada, Delaware is still strong. Obviously, more bankruptcies are filed in Delaware than other states because obviously corporations, so many entities filed bankruptcy. You got Purdue Pharma, they're going through some hell. Actually, the Supreme Court's going to review their settlement. There's a lot of bankruptcies, obviously, in Delaware. Nevada's losing its luster because Nevada's becoming less business friendly. Obviously, Nevada has no income tax because of casinos. Um, Wyoming has no income tax because of petroleum and the oil and gas industry there, which is really strong. There was actually a movement a few years ago when Colorado got really restricted on oil and gas, and this is kind of going off the subject a little bit. That there was people in northern Colorado wanted to actually leave Colorado and join Wyoming. The oil and gas industry is really strong in western Colorado and northern Colorado. If you go in the areas around, if you go north of I-70 and then you go, it's all the way to like Fort Collins and eastern Colorado, it's really strong. A lot of oil and gas is there, where there's not so much in the southern part of the state. You get a lot of obviously, even on the eastern side, there's a western slope. There's a lot of peaches and cantaloupe and all that stuff. Palisade peaches are world famous, stuff like that. But so you guys can read this real quick. So that's what they sent us, the filing team. They provide this all to you. So these are the resolutions. So, Riley Park is our agent, Private Money Holdings, limited liability company. He's, you know, he has to agree to resolve the relinquish signing authority to the manager's name below or adopt the following resolution. So after he files that first form I showed you at the state, now he has to do this one that he's going to, he's going to relinquish signing authority. So in this case, we would have a manager, and this would be where we name a manager. So we can actually go in. I have the editable one. This is not the editable one. I have an editable one, so we can always make changes. And then we would send it to Riley, and he'll file it with his system, but it's not filed with the state. So this is an agreement with us. So it talks about when we're filed. There's a filing number that is with the state. And then it's like these are the articles of incorporation. So we have a manager. Basically, our company at the time is Don and Kevin and I were going to have a manager who is going to basically be our office manager, business manager, allowing us to, we're going to have different roles. And we actually had a fourth partner at one time. So that was kind of how we set it up, was to have a manager. If you can choose to manage it yourself, there's two options. So when I give you guys the website, you guys can go in and see what they have. The other option is basically you yourself without a manager. So if you decide to get a manager, that's a good situation. So obviously this is to Wyoming. So now we got the agreement, guys. So obviously company formation, we're a limited liability company. It's continued perpetually unless we vote for dissolution. An event which caused the company's business become unlawful or any other event causing the company dissolution under state laws. So this gets into obviously, this is a state of Colorado. This is an operating agreement. George, you could actually, when you do your Wyoming and stuff, and anybody does an operating agreement, this becomes an operating agreement. It just depends if you're a manager or you're doing it yourself. If you're going to get really big, you can start doing managers. It gets into Article 2 when you get capital contributions. So keep in mind, this is still blank. We have an editable one. So when we make changes and we vote, and there's actually a form, and I'll print tomorrow. I have to go to the page, to the website. There is a company. I mean, you can download tons of forms, edit them, fill in the blanks, save. And it's like, I think it's like 20, I think it's like 19.95 a month. And they give you access to all kinds of forms, fill in the blanks. You can do banking resolutions. So if you need a banking resolution, if you need to actually document a vote, if you have partners, you've got to have your corporate meeting. Most places, your states and stuff require you to have an annual corporate meeting. No matter what, even if it's just your stuff, you got to establish. You got to file. Have a form. If you get audited or something like that. So obviously, initial contributions. You want to put in that what your initial contributions. If you got three partners are throwing each 100 grand, put in there what the total value of such property and cash is, and then you can always file additional papers with this, if you need to. Obviously, it talks about profits and losses, distributions. Now we get into management, guys. The company is managed by managers. So what you have to put the name and the residential address of each manager as an exhibit. And then the manager is elected by a vote of the members. So it would be either elected or, elected is still also hire. So if you hire a manager, you hire a CEO or a general manager or a business manager or even a CFO who's just managing the thing. And our PPM that we wrote, we were going to do the capital raise. We were actually going to have the investors basically hire and have direct oversight and fiduciary responsibility from a CFO. So we were going to have the investors basically have the CEO, and then we were going to elect our manager was going to be our representative, and then we would have those two entities actually oversee the funds, and that's actually in our PPM. It's a really long document, 93 pages. So I'm probably never going to, it is actually something I could give you guys, but there's a lot of securities and a lot of legal stuff in there. Some of it's like, literally it'll put you to sleep. So we decided to call and this is a term, guys, in Wyoming. If you do choose the manager, chief executive manager, that is a state of Wyoming term. If you decide to have a manager instead of yourself, they will call it chief executive manager. So keep in mind that is state of Wyoming. The managers may be members or non-members. In our case, it was a non-member. They didn't have voting. So you get into like the members, obviously powers with the powers of managers, things like that, prepayment, refinance. They're basically going to handle our finances. We're going to have obviously a separate agreement with our investors covering the CFO and the role of CFO versus with the manager. So this gives the title Chief Executive Manager primary responsibility for managing the company operations and for carrying out the decisions of the managers. And then, title of the company's assets will be in the company's name or in it, the name of the non, I'm trying to read just a few things to give you guys like company information, exculpation, any active omission of the managers, the effect of which may cause or result in loss or damage to the company or members, if done in good faith to promote the best interest of the company, will not subject the managers to any liability. You guys want to make sure you read some of the legalese. This is a standard, so you really can't change it. All you can do is add the names and stuff like that. If you're going to make any changes, you would have to do it as an addendum. You would want to talk to Riley or, his people. You're not going to talk to him directly. He's actually not even usually at the office. They have a staff. So obviously, all the business formation documents, you got to put, the location of all the members, all the federal, state, local income tax reports, and for the last 3 years, the financial statements. So in here, you guys get into this question: compensation for a manager. Are you paying your manager a fee as a salary, or is you paying somebody if you guys are buying real estate assets and you guys hire a property manager, could you have this person be your manager? That's a decision you have to make. Entitled to compensation equal to the value of those services. Reimbursement talks about reimbursement. Obviously, we get into bookkeeping. We get into the annual reports. You get into transfers, Article 7. If you're gonna sell a sign, otherwise dispose of the interest. So when you guys are setting up your lending companies, or if you're just going to be borrowing, you guys want to make a decision, obviously, on your LLCs. Obviously, Wyoming's, I believe, like you guys know, I keep promoting it. South Dakota and Alaska are second and third. There's more trust. There's actually more trust registered in the state of South Dakota. And there's Rapid City is one, but there's another state, and I can't remember its name. It's kind of where it's near where that Wall Drug is, that big drugstore that has like, 200 acres or whatever. It's like ridiculous. I was actually there with a kid with my grandparents, but that little town, I think it's Wall, South Dakota. There's actually something like over 1,000 trusts that are registered in Wall, South Dakota, of all places. And it's just, I mean, without that drugstore and some other businesses, it's just a small town in the middle of nowhere it's like there's a road there, a major road, but it's not an interstate. Valuation and exiting, guys. If you gotta make your decisions. If you're gonna have partners, how are you gonna, when the company breaks up or you dissolve? How are you gonna divide or if a member leaves, how are you gonna compensate them? Are they gonna leave with still have equity? Are they gonna get a payout? So in the obviously in the formation, you guys can make the decisions. If there's gonna be anything that's outside of the standard form, you would just write an addendum and have everybody sign it, have it notarized. You don't have to file it with any of the companies that are registering. You don't have to file with them. You just probably just want to put a copy in a safe deposit box or somebody else. Don't file it with the company that represents you in Wyoming, your registered agent, because that's when it starts. You don't want to have anything but what they tell you they need, because that's how you get cope. That's how you get protected. You don't want to give them anything, because that's how they. I'm going to say playing dumb. It's not really playing dumb, but that's how you're protected. The less that they know. I mean, obviously, and they tell you they don't do anything that's unlawful or anything like that. They'll try to research a lot of people once they're in business and try to see, hey, if these people are, obviously if somebody like Bernie Madoff or somebody, these companies are gonna, they're gonna be on the side of the law, obviously. Distribution of exiting members' interests. Like I said, I'm not gonna read all this because it would take forever. We got a few things to go over. It talks about dissolution in Article 8. So this is really a standard form, guys. And so we had Sean and Kevin and I. We each had 33%. And so like I said, we have one that's signed. I'm just showing you guys because this is kind of outdated, and we have to update and take Sean off. So like you could have 4 partners. If you're gonna have more than that, you can actually do a list. And obviously, you guys have seen Angel. Angel was actually going to be our manager at one point. You guys know who Angel is. He pops up in the associates group every once in a while. And then we also had Tammy Lewis, who was Don's ex-girlfriend. She was going to be our manager along with Angel. So that was going to be Tammy. So like I said, this is outdated because he would have signed it and all that stuff. So that's why I'm telling you guys, because I don't. So you get into this and you got to get into the listing of members. So obviously, there's more members. Um, you can get pretty thorough. You can get down to 5 or 6 members. You start getting into capital contributions, who's putting in what. You got to put in who gets what when it leaves. They give you a certificate. They give you, here's your LLC resolution. So now you can print this out, and then you can fill it in. So you can take this operating agreement, and you don't have to file this with the state, the bank account. You take that, you have the certificate, you have the operating agreement. We just went kind of fast over, and this banking resolution. You can go open the bank account. So that's kind of what their package is, guys. And so I'm gonna kind of post their website. There's 2 companies. Make sure it's agent or agents. I mean, I have it saved, so it could be agent or agents. Just remember that. The other one is Wyoming company. And Wyoming company's in Cheyenne, and you guys will go to their website and be like, hey, there's a lot more stuff on here you can buy. You can actually get up to $7,000 or $8,000 on their website. You get trusts, and they even have packages where they can have attorneys write up stuff for you. So you got attorney-client privilege. Kind of if you're doing something, they can even do now. They can do the decentralized. If you guys know, like a lot of crypto and stuff are doing decentralized, and so they can actually set you up. Wyoming is actually the first state, believe it or not. Just like the first state, the LLC is the first state to actually set up the decentralized organizations where, there's no management or whatever. It's like I don't know, it's like a co-op, I guess is the best term I would use. So we're kind of going real quick. I'm going to kind of go into a few things. This is more or less, um, I'm going to show you guys, and this is just for giggles, because I'm going to show you guys assignment of contract and assignment of purchase and sale agreement. Also, we got like 4 or 5 things to go over, but you guys have heard about shell companies. If you guys, and this is obviously Wyoming company has a better deal. I'm just showing you this because this is one company and it's an old list. There's nothing, that doesn't have anything on here is current, but they show you guys, this is one company. You guys can look at shelf companies. These are great if you want to buy something that's been in business a long time. And sometimes they're just sitting there. They may have an EIN. Imagine having, buying a company that has a 20-year-old EIN. It's fresh. Nobody's ever used it. That's good. I mean, there's ways for people to detect if it was a shelf company, but it's you, I'm gonna post this, guys, so you can read it on your own. But because you can read all this extra stuff. Like they have packages. WyomingCompany.com, which I just posted a link to. They have shelf companies on there right now, and you can actually go into specific states. This guy's is in. I mean, they're literally in London and New Zealand, so you can get into their packages and stuff, and they have different prices. Obviously, on their website they have better prices and it's all, remember, it's in pounds rather than dollars. But this was an old list, and you guys can see they go back to 2007. So you go back and get a company that's been in business, technically it's been in business 16 years. These are not cheap. Now in Wyoming company, they start at $695, they go all the way up to like $8,000-$10,000. You can obviously choose different companies if countries, if you want to be in Belize, Bulgaria, Gibraltar, Hong Kong, Ireland, Northern Ireland. I don't even know where Mortaris is. Somebody might be able to tell me. Netherlands, New Zealand, Panama. Panama's changed it a little bit. They got in a little bit of trouble because of the Panama Papers thing. And so Scotland, Seychelles, Spain, UK. UK is awesome, guys. If you ever want to get a foreign business, like, United Kingdom is actually pretty cool. There's I forget, and then of course you get the United States and you got Oregon, there's Colorado. Like I said, this is an old list. You can see they incorporated these in 2016. Gateway Development Technologies is, I think they sold that one. So I'm just showing you guys this for giggles. Just if you guys are ever interested in shelf companies, but I would go to Wyoming company first. So I'm going to go to real quick, assignment of contract. I'm going to show you guys the differences. Now this is one. Why would you not want to use this one? Because look how short it is. So I'm kind of showing you guys an example. We're going to talk a little bit about wholesaling, and then I'm going to show you a couple different forms and stuff so you guys can, this way I'm going to start showing you guys the forms and the documents that are in the files tab. Every week I'm going to kind of show you 3 or 4 of them, so that way you can actually see these and see if you want to use them for your business, no matter what you're doing. So I would not use this one, even though it's very short and to succinct. It doesn't have any clauses or addendums. Keep in mind, guys, what you can do, all these things, you can just go in here and copy and paste, go in and put it in Word or whatever. And then you can obviously change all the the names and stuff like that. And then you can save it in a PDF. So this is a very simple, there's a lot of reasons you don't want to use something this short when you're doing wholesaling or any kind of transaction. I'm showing it to you because I'm going to show you another one that's got a lot more information on it. Oh, sorry, I don't think you guys actually saw that. All right, so there you guys go. Assignment of contract. So, like I said, you guys can go and just copy and paste, click on it. This is so short. I mean, this is one page. I would never want to recommend anybody doing. You need clauses, you need addendums, you need because a lot of times these are going to also tell the title company direction to pay, things like that, and then the signatures. There's always a question about what signatures versus a DocuSign or a HelloSign. I do like HelloSign a lot more than DocuSign. It's less money and they actually give you more features, even though DocuSign's obviously more known. So that's HelloSign, just like below. They're really good, but I would not recommend you guys doing in your business using a form, any form that is this short, that doesn't have, unless you go and just copy and paste and put your own addendums. Why put your own addendums? Use what I'm giving you guys, but some states in some situations, and we'll advise when they come up that you may have to get an attorney or somebody in that state. California and Texas are tricky. Guys, remember also for Monday night, Casey can do California. You guys, Casey is amazing because he can do a lot of different states besides the four that he mentioned: Texas, Colorado, Nashville, Tennessee, and those four states. And he's adding the four states, like the two Carolinas, and a couple other. He'll be able to do 8 states with that fix and flip program. No credit check, no income check, 7 to 10 day close, no appraisal. But he has a lot of other, just a ton of other opportunities. We're getting everybody else, all the other lenders, first position lenders, all the brokers up to speed, all the EMD gap. Starting, like I said, by the time you guys are back from Labor Day, we're going to be putting that in place where, you know, you guys will be working hand in hand with all those guys, and everybody will be like a team. Be doing associate to associate, peer to peer, and then as you become more ready and capable, and you feel comfortable, it's when you feel comfortable, then you could even do it with the public. And if you decide you just want us, basically through the EMD gap group and all that, or the first positions or the brokers to bring you deals, they're going to be able to do that, and that kind of keeps you. You can sit there and do all the deals. That when the first position is sending you a deal, they're looking for you to invest or you to loan money to their client, to their borrower. You already know they've already vetted it, they've underwritten it, they've approved it, they're going to do it. So you're going to get a package is a lot is you're not depending then on the borrower filling out the packet, and you can still do your tear sheets and what your terms are. And I recommend that. Do a sheet, introduce yourself, have your picture, have a logo, have your name of your company, your contact information, and some basic qual. What you're looking for. If you really want to specialize in an area. If not, no big deal. But and if you're in like Texas and you just really want to specialize in Texas deals, or if you really like Casey's programs and you want to kind of just work with him and kind of mirror his deals, like I'll do this if Casey's company's funding this, I'll fund it, I'll lend it. So we're providing you guys the resources in the files tab section where you guys can, once I show you these forms, and I'm going to show you a few, like I said, a few every week through November, you guys are going to see the forms we have in the files tab. Some people haven't, it's a little confusing. So I want to make sure I show you guys what we have in there, what we have for resources for you. You can pick and choose what you want to use. So, and then we'll make sure, we can help you edit them, find and replace. If we have to find, if we have to get the form modified, I'll reach out to my attorney friends and get it done for a lot less if we have to make changes. But most of these, I think we're going to be good at about 90% of the situations we have out there. There's 1 or 2 states that have some issues sometimes. That's kind of just real quick on that one. Now here you guys, here's the one this one's a lot more thorough. Would you guys, I mean, everybody would make sure I have to do this stupid thing. One of these days I'll actually get this figured out. Would you guys would rather use this one's a little bit, still, 1 page, but guys, it has a lot more information. You're getting into payment, direction to pay, who's paying what, which direction it's going. You could change this to refundable. So you guys can actually, who are doing EMD gap, we can actually edit this and make it refundable. You can actually then you can close and put an addendum on it. And for assignment, things like this. This is for wholesaling. So you're probably not going to do this, but as far as EMD and gap, we have the contract for EMD and gap, and I'll make sure you guys have that next week when we go over that. So that does go into non-refundable versus refundable versus, you can have it refundable at closing. You can have it refundable at, it's inspection period. If there is issues at inspection period, and you get, everything's going to be designed so to protect you guys if you're learning EMD gap and transaction, but this is just a more simple one pager. But I'm going to show you guys again a more thorough package. And the next three forms I'm going to go into for you are really they're all together. So you got to consider it a package, and they are uploaded to files tab in this next to each other. So one after another one. So you're going to want the next three forms. If you want to wholesale, guys, these are the forms you're going to want to use. Wholesaling is just another income stream. But we suggest if you guys want to wholesale, start looking to wholesale like in single family and get privy, because if you can go work with Benson and you can find 35 to 45% of ARV, you can tack on your tack on 5 to 10%. That's a good fee. If you find something $100,000 and you tack on 5%, you make $5,000. That's a pretty good deal. There's a lot of wholesalers out there that are gouging. They're eating up in there. There's a lot of discussions in a lot of wholesale groups. And you guys remember, I'm probably in 100 real estate groups. Um, so I see a lot of wholesalers trying to just max them out. They're like, hey, if the flipper or my buyer is going to pay this, I'm going to charge it. Well, what happens if they go get something at 35% of ARV and then they're still charging you 65? They just fully doubled the price for no reason. They could have made it like 50% or make 10 or 15%, and then it's 50% ARV. You want to flip the script, guys. Everything we do, everything that our organization as a whole, with everybody, all the associates, everybody, we want to become masters at flipping the script. And that helps you if you're doing your own properties, you're buying your properties, your rental properties, your flips, but your clients. You want to be able to advise your clients, your borrowers, people that you consult with, whatever you lend money to, advise them on how you can flip the script. Like create, instead of it maxes out 65, 70, 75% with all the closing costs and all the, fees and all that stuff. What if you could actually flip the script and now you got 40% instead of 15 to 20% for a profit? That makes you a lot more money, makes them a lot more money. And the lenders are happy because that's risk management in it. If you can actually, it's less risk. Risk managers will love that. They're like, hey, these people are getting a solid deal. Every banker, I mean, Glenn can tell you, every banker loves when you are risk reduction through the money. If you're finding a good deal in this, this isn't like buying a house you're going to live in. If you're buying a business or something like that, your banker loves it when you find good deals and they see it as a good deal. If they feel that, hey man, this person knows how to structure the deal, they know how to make the right offers. It helps you build a relationship with that banker, with that lender, with that investor. So we're all about that. Let's flip the script. Let's go in and try to make, so everybody makes a little bit of money, the wholesaler or whatever. If you're using Privy, obviously you guys can cut out wholesale, you can cut out lead generation, you can cut out skip tracing. You can pretty much cut out all that stuff, yellow letters, scripts. I mean, I'm going to be posting a lot of scripts and stuff. Pretty much it's the stuff I post is not really outdated, but I'm posting them there so you guys have a FYI. Hey, you can tap those resources if you want, but we're telling you guys, Privy, there's not really yet, in my opinion, a commercial version of Privy. There's a couple that are kind of, I hear about a lot of stuff that's in progress, and nothing really has impressed me as far as, Privy's probably the best software. If somebody could do that for commercial and be able to cover stories and multifamily, I'd love to see it and I'd promote it. It's like I did Privy. You guys see something out there that's really good, let me know, because we'll try to see what we can do to get it. But so far, and there's a lot of stuff that's it's good, but it's not what I believe Privy is. Privy is by far the best real estate investment software there is. So this is just a quick form. So I'm going through forms tonight, guys. I'm going kind of fast, but you guys can download these. Obviously, that's probably not a form you want to download, but I wanted to show it to you. It is available in the Files tab. Like I said, next week we're going to do operating agreements, and we're going to start going to cost of capital calculator. So this is going to be this is a good, guys. This is a wholesale contract, and you guys are going to see. I'm just going to scroll down and I'll go back up because this has a lot of terms in it, guys. And like I said, you guys can just click on it and copy and paste that, save it in Word or something, and then go in and just find, replace, and add things. It's a pretty easy way to do it. So this is much more thorough. This is the one you guys want to use because it has sections. You know, you're basically, guys, you know, I don't like, you know, sometimes I bore people by reading, but kind of just, I'm gonna kind of leave it up for like maybe about a minute each page. And I'll kind of scroll slowly so you guys can kind of look, maybe if you can guys can see it on your own. Let me try to get it a little bit bigger. A little bit, one more smaller, just to, that way you guys can kind of see it. You guys, you know, what it says. And so this is really thorough. And I think this is the one you guys want to use. So it is saved as the wholesale contract. And then obviously wholesale A to B and wholesale B to C all go together. You guys will see why. Now you start getting into down here, you know, obviously provided by escrow agent. Escrow agent will be the title company, closing agent, attorney. And so obviously we'll have, you know, there'll be direction to pay. There'll be, you know, here's the escrow agent guys. You want to put obviously their information, their name, address, who the officer is, what their email is, making sure you got all their contact information. Earnest money is the deposit. You know, if you guys are going to have a refundable earnest money, because, you know, what happens a lot of times in refundable earnest money is that it's backstopped. So basically it's to close the deal, then you're getting your return with directed to pay. Let's say you loan $5,000 earnest money and you're getting back 5,500, you're charging 10%. I tell people to start 10, 15, 20, but don't go over 20%. I think actually sometimes in usury, in the states that have like really strict usury, like in Colorado, it's 21%, is you can go max and 21% on consumer. It's like usually most of the time it's like 16 or 18% is where it starts tapping out. So if you guys are going to be doing this, really look to what the first position lenders are loaning and try to kind of match to them, you know, for earnest money and what you're lending to it. We're going to go into a lot more of that after Labor Day. We're actually going to show you that, you know, that contract next week, and then you guys got 2 weeks to look at it. Which is kind of like this one, but it talks about, you know, it's basically you lending money to for earnest money or gap or whatever. Obviously the purchase price, close of escrow, when the close of escrow is going to be. I mean, that's always going to be COE. Nothing in anything that in real estate is ever COE, but close of escrow. The parties, who the seller is, who the borrower is. You know, if it's an LLC, make sure you put the LLC. You know, obviously we start getting escrow fees, guys. So it's going to start. These are check marks. So nothing in these forms are designed where you need an expert to teach you it. You can go through and pretty much learn how to use these on your own. I've tried to make sure that we got forms and databases and all that pretty much give you the tools, they give you a glossary, they give you the terms, they give you the ability to learn how to use that document without having to, you know, spend hours and hours and hours learning it. So I talk about like HOA fees, you know, different, you know, what they're paying is 50% by buyer, 50% by seller, or 100% by buyer. You know, or, you know, so it gets into these escrow fees and costs, standard title policy, who's paying for what. That way, you know, the transaction coordinator, whether it's the lender or whether it's, and the guys, if you are an EMD gap transaction lender, people like, you know, the Casey's company will handle all of the paperwork. They'll send it to you. It'll be clean. It'll be good, but it'll have direction to pay. It'll talk about like at the closing or whenever you get your return. You know, if you're loaning $10,000 and you're getting $11,000 back, it's going to tell you exactly that, and it's going to tell you when you're getting that. Usually, it'll be 24 to 48 hours after the closing, unless it's on a weekend. If the closing's on a, sometimes if it's on a late Thursday afternoon or anytime Friday, you probably won't get it back till Monday. Just you know, you guys know weekends. If it's anything around a Labor Day, Memorial Day, Christmas, Thanksgiving, you just remember it's usually going to be like that next Monday or something. Obviously personal property, you guys have seen real estate contracts. Additional terms and conditions. This would actually, you may not have place to write this, but you know, you can actually sometimes make it form fillable. You know, you can actually go in there and you can actually make it form fillable. There's some apps for that. And then you can also, like I said, just copy and paste. This gets into the, you know, purchase and sale of the property, what the status of title is. And like I said, you can make any changes. This is what you want to do if you're wholesaling. This is what you want to see if there's a wholesale transaction on it. So this is specific to the wholesaling. We have another purchase and sale agreement that you'll get the week after Labor Day it's an actual purchase and sale agreement. This particular has, you got to go to lid-based paint, things like that. So there's a lot more escrow and all that stuff. Because there's a lot of things that are required, guys, disclosures and stuff. Obviously, lid paint, and it's good. Use this one because it actually sends people right to the website that they need to, that that tells them how to do this. Making sure that you are right on lead-based paint. As is purchased with existing condition as of close of close of escrow, closing costs and prorations. You guys can, like I said, download this and read it. You get into cure notice, remedies, attorney fees. It gets into like, when you can get damages, when you can actually, you can enforce this, enforce the contract. And I don't ever suggest people doing the quad in the contract. I'd rather say double close. And with our EMD gap transaction lenders, guys, with you guys doing that, we can do a lot of double closings. We can do clean transactions. Everything should be clean and, almost perfected. Nothing's going to be 100% perfect, but if we can get it 97, 98%, we're going to be awesome. So it talks about the cure notices. Like I said, guys, you want to make changes, you can just copy and paste and then add them. So down here, I think it ends at like 12.5, 12.9. You guys can start adding your own, you can add section 13, all that stuff. But it gets into the normal and changes the representations. You have the notices. And then here's where this is good because it actually gives you all the descriptions and it gives you all the terms. So you guys can go through and you can, I mean, everything that I try to give you guys has, like I said earlier, it has the terms, it has a glossary. So, you can go through and get all the terms and make sure, do your due diligence, print one of these out and then make check marks or whatever. That you got this, you got all these elements. Because it's like elements, everything. You got the disclosures, you've got everything that you want. And then obviously you got signatures and you guys can get down and you got the, seller, buyer, contact information. That's a pretty thorough form, guys. It's only 4 pages though. But like I said, you can modify it. If you want to do it, you would want to put something like see addendums or something like that. And then even put the hints like see addendum up here, but then see addendums and then print the addendums and, on this. So you copy and paste it, put it in Word, and then put your addendums. And we do have a few addendums. I have an escalation agreement. We also have a termination agreement, which is thorough. They're actually both in Files tab. So you could actually add that. You could actually go in Word and, and see termination agreement. It's the terms on, it goes into thorough on how you can get out of the contract, and not lose any money, not lose a cent. The escalation is great because if for some reason it gets into, what the status is, what the situation is, if all of a sudden, let's say you've got a seller and all of a sudden, the wholesalers, it's been daisy chained or something, and you get into a situation where that property should be selling for a little bit more in the seller's opinion, and they're getting people telling them that, they start getting nervous. You can put an escalation agreement with your seller that says, hey, it's kind of like eBay, you guys, when you bid on stuff and it's like somebody else bids, you can put it in that bid form. You can check those boxes and put in you'll increase your bid by. If you bid 100, somebody bids 105, you'll bid 110, you go in $5 increments. The escalation agreement's pretty thorough, and it is found in the files tab section. So that is like the more thorough 4-page wholesaling, it's purchase contract and escrow. And it doesn't just have to be for wholesaling. We do have another form, but this is pretty thorough for purchase contract and escrow. Like I said, it is part of the 3-document package, though, for wholesaling that we offer that we put on the files tab, but you can use it for just a regular purchase and sale agreement. You don't have to, because it's got a lot of stuff in it. And then you guys know HUD-1, and you guys can download the HUD-1 off the files tab section. The HUD-1 will be done by the lender and the transaction coordinator with the title company. If you're brokering money, if you're lending EMD and GAP, you should be able to get a HUD-1. It's residential mostly. You'll get a HUD-1 the day before closing usually, and it'll have where your fee is if you're a broker, or your referral fee, like Casey pays that, his referral fee versus he also pays a broker fee, different circumstances. But you'll have direction to pay on like, hey, I'm getting 2 points on this. It's $100,000. $2,000 is going to AAA Capital LLC. Here's my contact information. Here's my direct deposit information. Obviously, you don't want to put direct deposit information and stuff through banking as a broker. You want to provide that to the lender and make sure the title company has it. So if they're going to direct deposit, like I said, in all my deals, I've only gotten a check once. Everything else was a wire, a direct deposit or wire. That's kind of that one, and then I'm going to kind of go into two more. This is the A to B, and I know you guys all know this, but just for the people that are totally new, because like we talked about earlier, Glenn and I talked about like, hey, we're trying to do this for a lot of people that are brand new. So if you've been through some of this, guys, I apologize for it being redundant if you've already know this, but like I said, we're trying to make sure that new people. So this is between the private owners, the seller, and the investor wholesaler. So if you're even if you're just a buyer, you're still gonna flip it. That's your buyer. You're now the buyer. If you're a wholesaler, this is a little crooked. I apologize for it. So this is a solid A to B transaction, and it's going to go through the purchase and sale agreement. This is solid, guys. You can actually use this for all of your transaction if you're buying properties, anything. So keep that in mind. And you've got, who the buyer is with the address, who the seller is with an address, executive, it's executed and acknowledged by the title escrow closing agent / attorney. A lot of attorneys, if you guys have an attorney, some states require a different terminology. I forget, and I do have a list somewhere. I'll have to find it that actually talks about what states you have, what states don't have title. It's usually a closing agent or an attorney. And I do have a map. I also have a map on like Togo and a couple other rock and stuff on what states they can do what in and what states they can still do things in, but they have to have somebody licensed there. MLO. Casey's company is awesome with the fact that they can do FHA and VA and they can do conventional mortgages. That's why you really don't want to develop a relationship with them, especially for an EMD gap transaction lender. Because he'll bring you guys clean deals. You guys heard his presentation. He's working on another presentation. So is Matt Gray. So we're gonna have a 3 or 4 more. Also gonna mention that Ari texted me today and he's working on $1 million line of credit with one of his investors who owns a bunch of properties in the Diamond District in New York. So his associates are going to be probably putting about $1 million into it for transaction funding for you guys. So I expect us to we might top out at 10 million available for purchase for EMD gap and transaction by year's end. And that doesn't include what the first position lenders are doing. So guys, I'm literally trying to build you guys $10 million worth of liquidity to do your deals with. So obviously purchase price, EMD, the balance to be paid at close of escrow. Talks about your EMD here, guys, so make sure to pay attention. When you guys see this, you're the EMD lender, you're getting this whatever document, because it obviously may not be the same document. Lenders are going to use their own document in some cases. If you're doing your own, you want to use this. This is the best thing you can use if you're brand new because it's thorough. But remember to read through about how EMD, if there's going to be any changes, you guys can go in, like I said, use find and replace. Save it in Word and use find and replace. So it gets into that. It gets into financing if it's cash. If it's subject to buyer taking over a seller's existing loan of. Guys, you know how popular subject to is right now. You see it all over the place. How popular seller financing is. What about traditional financing? Traditional, you start getting into, so making sure, make sure you check this if it's cash. If you're going to define as capital from buyers' personal funds or buyers, investors, partners, or unconventional lending sources, this agreement is not contingent on buyer securing funds to close. So you guys will kind of read through these. Like I said, I'm not going to read these in depth. Inspection period, calendar days, guys. What have I also said recently? And Doris, you probably will know this. It says calendar days. Sometimes I prefer government business days or business days. But calendar days, it works. Just like I said, further protect yourself if you want to. Change this to business days or government business days. Keep in mind that some cities and jurisdictions have stupid holidays. Denver has 2 holidays that are named for founders of the city or whatever. One guy was died 100 years ago, and there's a day that the city gets off, all the city employees and all that stuff, and they get that day off. So if you're doing any kind of filings in the city of Denver that day, good luck. So if you miss a a deadline, or you could blow the deal. So I always put government business days, because you could go say whatever his name is. His first name is Corky. So whoever Corky is in Denver 80 years ago or whatever is if it's on Corky's day, the city of the county in Denver, except for the sheriff's department, the jail, the fire department, the police department, is not open. So make sure you got inspection periods, and talk about, it talks about here EMD held in escrow. Always make sure, read through all the contracts, especially if you guys are EMD gap transaction lenders. Make sure you kind of highlight, maybe print one out just for reference, and then put it, like, maybe get one of those white folders, at Staples or Office Max or something, and make a folder that has these, and go through and highlight with the highlighter, where all the EMD discussions are, where all the cancellations, all the terminations, they might use different terms. They might have cancellation, they might have termination. They also have all the clauses and stuff, all the refundable versus non-refundable. Go through and make a couple of these, or you can reference them, and then get those sleeves or protectors or whatever, and then just start making your own. That way you've got a reference book. You don't always have to go online, because obviously you can't really go on here and highlight. So I always recommend people making a book. Access to property, when between opening your opening escrow and the close of escrow, seller grants buyer and or buyer's employees, inspectors, partners, investors, contractors, agents access to property as follows. If it's vacant, guys, if it's occupied, there's some times where they're going to require you 24-hour notice. There may be times where they just, it's a drive-by. It's, for some reason, it could be a situation where, on the nice end, if somebody's in probate and they've lost a family member, which will often be a tenant, a parent or an aunt or uncle or a grandparent or something, it's a sensitive situation. So they just may give you like drive-by, access. And then we get, obviously, guys, escrow agent, close of escrow, escrow and closing fees. These in this form, 9, 10, and 11, again, go through this and learn, different types of general warranty deed. Next week, you guys are going to have 2 forms of warranty deeds, deed of trust. You're going to have there's about 5 forms plus the big contract that I'm giving you guys, plus operating agreements. Next week, we'll pretty much finalize a lot of the forms you guys are going to need. That way you have about 2 weeks to actually kind of go through it. And then before we actually start, we're actually going to start putting these to use. So it talks about here in escrow and closing fees, just like the other documents. Who pays what? That's direction to pay. You guys always hear me talk about direction to pay. It's always going to be direction to pay. Prorations, taxes, turnover. So I provide buyer with the keys on to the property and day of escrow. It talks about debris and personal belongings, guys. How many times have you seen? Guys, go to John Morey's. If you guys aren't friends with John Morey, he's the co-admin for Jim's Group Real Estate Investor Network. Go see some of the pictures John posts and how the properties she's taken over. Obviously, you guys know debris and personal belongings, especially if they're evictions or foreclosures. It's brutal. So kind of read through this. Also, appliances, if they're included or not included, or what the exceptions are. Obviously, a lot of times you're not going to get the washer and the dryer. They may have their refrigerator, sometimes not their refrigerators. More often than not, it's going to be the dishwasher if there's one, the garbage disposal. And guys, remember, appliances also sometimes can be water softeners. It could be, my parents have a sprinkler system for because they live on, everyone knows this because when it's their house, they have a river going through there. The main actually river that goes from like Mount Evans to Evergreen Lake, and then it goes all the way down to Denver, runs right through. My parents actually own the land under it. You don't own the water, but you own the land. So they have a thing that's been there for like 80 years. When they bought it, they had to get a guy who knew how to fix it. They have a thing where they can actually use the water, and it goes through a system where they can irrigate. It's not obviously drinking water because it's coming from the river, but my parents don't pay a penny for irrigating their lawn and their gardens and stuff. So you guys want to make sure that those kind of appliances are included. Is there satellite dishes? Are the satellite dishes staying? Satellite dishes can stay. You can always just go in and replace the receiver. So things like that. So always make sure there's a lot of other stuff that are appliances. It's solar. Here's where you may want to make an addendum, see addendum, and then write something up if there's solar panels. what happens to the solar panels? What happens to the solar system? Also make sure, guys, if there's solar or a security system, there's cameras, things like that. You gotta sometimes make sure that you guys know how the process is of transferring it, if it's transferring. Yeah, ADT is one of the best companies out there. And my friend Jerry Holland was the ADT manager in Denver, and he's awesome, former Marine. He's actually left that business, but they have a great package, guys. And I'm just gonna throw this out there, and this is kind of separate from the class. But if you guys are looking really and you're gonna be flipping properties and selling them, think about getting ADT. There's also Simply Safe, which is good, but ADT has been around for 100 years. They have a phenomenal system, and I can tell you from being a fire chief and fire marshal and all that stuff, ADT is awesome at working with 911. And 911, I mean, there's JeffCom in Jefferson County, which JeffCom dispatches all the fire departments and police agencies, covering about 500,000 people. So they're pretty substantial. They love ADT. ADT's dispatchers are fast and all that stuff. So think about working with ADT to have locks and cameras and smoke detectors, CO2, get a package, because then you can actually market that to your buyer and say, I'm going to give you 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. You can actually go and prepay with them up to 3 years with ADT and get a transfer package. They have a form already filled out. It's pre-approved. So all they have to do is put their new information and you sign it that you're transferring over. ADT has that program. You're going to want to contact ADT directly, though. A lot of the ADT dealers aren't as familiar with it. I mean, they know about it, but you want to contact ADT directly if you want to do something like that. Simply Safe is also good. You guys remember seeing the commercials with the burglar guy falling down the stairs and he would do talking with his little ski mask on, kind of like the guy in Fat Albert that used to have like the ski hat on. It's pretty cool. You're going to see a lot of Simply Safe commercials coming out now with Leroy Hawkins. If you guys have ever seen Chicago PD, he plays Kevin Atwater, Detective Atwater on the show. He's actually doing a lot of commercials for Simply Safe now. So I would rate them the #2 company. But keep in mind, so security systems, appliances, it could be, like I said, it's solar, it could be water softeners, it could be all kinds of things in there. There's some things in people put in attics now that they get the silver or aluminum blanket over the attic. It helps with condensation, it helps with cooling, it helps with cost. Sometimes there's actually an air cleaner. But believe it or not, in my community, there's a lot of homes that have there's a company that came through and sold like 300 people, 300 houses got these air cleaners with their aluminum mat in their attic and stuff like that, and they sealed it up for energy. They go in and spray a bunch of stuff and seal up all the cracks and all the. You guys would be amazed at how many holes are actually in your house that you don't know about. So all the working appliances, personal property, marketing. Put the state in here. Marketing is permissible by real estate governance in the state of. You guys know there's some states that you don't want to. There's some states. California is one of them. To advertise the property for sale or rent as principal to this contract, not the seller's broker, agent, or representative, and place signs on or advertise online the property. Kind of, and you guys want to have, if you're going to be selling properties, guys, use a realtor. Use a realtor if you can. Talk to Chris Delph, talk to Danny Skelly. They can help you find somebody in your community. Danny's one of my good friends in Evergreen. He's one of my realtors. Chris Delph is an associate. He's been on a few times, so you guys can hit him up, and they can tell you, how to get a realtor on board, build a relationship, because they're going to cover a lot of this stuff for you, and they know what the laws are in that state. Equity release. Here's the thing, guys. Equity release, something you guys really, obviously, let's go back real quick to 18. Sellers deliveries. Sellers should deliver the following to buyers within 5 days after opening. A written 5-year insurance claims history regarding the property for a claims history for the length of the time the sellers own the property of less than 5 years. So ask them, what's your insurance claims history? Guys, if you're in Denver, if you're doing anything in Denver or in Texas, they're going to have hailstorms. So you guys want to check on that and see what the claims are. Actually, and there was a guy, you guys know I talked about Storm Ventures Group, Anthony Delmedico. Anthony has a thing right now where he's in Florida. That's where he lives. He's actually doing a thing right now where he's teaching people how to actually buy properties that are damaged by and having open insurance claims, because you can actually then go get the insurance claim assigned to you and you can actually then use it for a down payment. It's actually kind of an interesting program. Unfortunately, like you guys have seen in some venture contractor store, it's super expensive, like everything else on that page. But yeah, there's actually a system that he's developed where people can actually buy a property using open insurance claims to actually pay for some of the down payments or stuff like that. I haven't gone to, like I said, I haven't gone too much into it because you have to pay for it. Equity release, seller acknowledges that the purchase price may be less than market value and voluntarily agreed to sell property to the buyer for convenience to save time and or money, lack of funds to renovate, or any other personal reasons, and herein releases and waives any and all claims against executive, existing or future equity arising from the property. Buyer has not made seller any any representation or promises as to the value of property in its as is current condition. Guys, also go look at that escalation agreement that I have uploaded because you can actually use that in this case with 19 if you want to. I was in 20. So guys, assignment disclosure, profit disclosure. So this is going to be great. 17 through 21 on this form is really key. When you guys print out your copy for your little reference book, highlight this and use it, use a couple different colors, use yellow, pink, green, whatever. Make this all the same. These are key. You want to put your X's, you want to circle it, maybe put 4 or 5 different ways to make sure you guys always refer to those sections because this is what keeps you guys out of trouble. I guess under remedies, obviously guys, 23 lead-based paint, and I gave you that other form. You guys can, even if you're not going to use it, download it so that way you guys can just click on, you can actually click on and add those EPA websites. Lead-based paint, you got to make sure you guys are covered. All the representations by the seller, and like I said, you guys can read a lot of this stuff on your own. Material defects, you guys remember also initial every page, buyer and seller. You start getting into release of claims, agency. This is key 27. Seller acknowledges that the buyer does not hold an active real estate license with the state of, or does hold an active real estate. So if you're just a wholesaler or you're just buying the property to flip it, you're going to make sure you check this does not, unless you actually do. It doesn't actually get you on a lot of stuff if you grew up, but it does actually kind of, help you a little bit. So I read that at 27. Time. So the time is of the essence of this agreement. The time of performance of any obligation or taking any action on this agreement shall be deemed to expire at 5 p.m. when on the last day of the applicable time period provided in this agreement. So guys, remember, business days are government business days. I would go back and just, when I download it, go back and take out calendar days and change it to business, government business days. It starts getting a lot more, and you guys can see, literally you can go through this on your own. Right to counsel, governing law, and you got a lot of places to fill in blanks. The state of, what county, like I'm in Colorado, I'm in Jefferson County in the state of Colorado, if that's where I'm doing my business, what the acceptance is till 5 o'clock local time on that date. And then you got all your other terms and conditions. You could put C addendum, C escalation agreement, C termination agreement. If you're going to use those, I would actually put that as the exact wording: C addendums, C termination agreement, C escalation agreement. Because the escalation agreement allows you to, like I said, with that profit discovery. There's some companies out there, you guys know who they are, like Open Door and some other ones that'll buy properties, and now they're promoting the idea that if they buy a property from you, but they sell it and they get more money, they'll have a set thing. Let's say they buy it from you at 130, they sell it at 300. They're trying to, they've done everything, but it sells for 320. They actually have a thing now where they may give you 10,000 of that extra 20,000. So it's kind of a cool program because a lot of wholesalers, the guys that damn well they're looking to max you out right away and take the property as little as they can, sell it as much as they can. And I'm going to say this, and I'm saying this on the recording. I think 90% of the wholesalers aren't trained right, and I think a lot of them have been good. I think only about 10%. I might say 20%. Do it right. Most of them are trying to max it out, and they're screwing the seller and the buyer. You guys want to wholesale, guys. Like I said earlier, you could throw 5%, 10%, or a fixed price. You could make good money if you do it once a month. You do it 10 or 12 deals a year. you're doing it along with your private money brokering, you're doing it with your EMD gap transaction lending, you can use those as income streams, get your income and cash flow going. So that way you can start saving money to buy your properties, buy your rental properties, flip your houses, things like that. Get your income, cash flow, wealth, and assets. That's what everything is about in real estate: income, cash flow, wealth, assets. So that is the A to the B. Now we're going to do the B to C, and then we'll have some discussion. I won't be sharing screen anymore, which will probably make you guys happy. So B to C, double closing or selling an investment property. So this is when you are selling. So same, you need just another purchase and sale agreement. This is going to have really some of this is going to be duplicate. So I'm not going to go over it specifically. Like I said, a lot of it, this is duplicate to that A to the A to the B to a certain degree. You can get extensions though. That's one key thing. The event the buyer requests an extension of the closing date or the deadline for the fulfillment of any contingency, the seller agrees to the extension, the buyer agrees to pay to the seller a per diem penalty of greater than $200 or 1/10 of 1% of the purchase price per calendar day. So keep in mind then you guys want to do something different, find and replace. Change it to $300, change it to $100 if you want to be nice. Change it to 2/10, change it to 2%, whatever you guys want to do. The extension of the close of escrow is in 7. So remember, guys, close of escrow and escrow agent, proof of funds. It talks about proof of funds. At time of acceptance, buyers to provide hard proof of funds. Go in there, make sure that they haven't like downloaded. Save has, right click has, Chase Bank, and they make their own, which is fraud. But call the banks. If it comes on a bank, guys, call the bank. Call the bank. Call the bank. Don't take their thing. You know, we go in a scope of work, I'll tell you how to call the insurance company instead of the insurance agent. Because I had one in my roofing industry before I did real estate where I had somebody, and it wasn't, I was doing it as a manager for another company. A guy who was a subcontractor turned in a fake. He basically had his buddy acting as his insurance agent. Oh yeah, his workers' comp's good for a year. Luckily, we found that out and didn't bring him on. So we were able to actually. I tell people call the insurance company, don't call the agent, call the bank, verify. You know, at least ask him, hey, ask him a question, yes or no. He shows that he has the ability to spend $500,000. Is that true? They may or may not tell you, or there may be a procedure for them to release information, but get a proof of funds. Funding, there is no financing contingency. Funds to purchase property shall be cash. So this isn't seller carry, guys. We have that 3-tier offer, and we have a purchase and sale agreement form for the 3-tier offer. If it's going to be financed by the seller, this is not being financed by you as the seller. Remember, this form, you are the seller on the B to the C. So this is a cash deal. And then, you know, obviously earnest money deposit. You guys remember I told you that, like all this. I mean, you guys want to just go through it, these in thorough. Obviously, direction of pay. Buyer and seller would evenly all escrow and closing costs, where the buyer should pay all the costs, or the seller should pay all the costs. And then what's customer practice in the state of transaction coordinators and lenders will know this when they can help you, you know, with the title companies will know this. If there's a specific law, like, you know, or there's a situation where somebody has to pay and somebody doesn't, prorations, taxes, rent and rent securities. Like if you're buying a house that's currently rent, is there deposits? Are there already deposits on, you know, if you've got a 20 door complex, how do you make sure that they are transferring the deposits to you or to your client if borrower? Make sure, you know, you got, because those people, those tenants, that's, you know, their money that they're supposed to get back when they leave. So make sure, guys, that you are always addressing that with prorations. You know, what are the security deposits? Make sure that those are covered.
When it goes
Yeah.
to deposits and security deposits, you need to have a date of transfer on those deposits. If you're going to do a multifamily purchase, you want to purchase the property the day before the end of the calendar, because the very next day you end up getting those deposits. So that also works into this thing,
Yeah,
because it's
making sure.
usually a 30-day deal.
Yeah, and get your rents on the first. You know, try to get all your deposits and all that stuff, and then obviously you need to do your new lease agreements with your client, with your tenants. And we do, you know, lease, you know, we can get into leases, but I try not to because that's all dependent on the state situations. But remember that key is 12. Obviously, delivery, exclusive physical possession is given to the buyer, and the deed is recorded, at the appropriate county recorder's office. Buyer and seller should comply with all terms and conditions of this agreement. That's getting delivered to escrow agent. All the closing documents, guys. Transaction coordinator at the lender and at the title company are gonna make sure all the documents are done. If you guys are using a really good, using land title, Chicago title, First American title, Appraisal Nation, Clear Capital, John Hornack, Private Lender Law, you guys are using any of those resources, you guys are gonna have clean documents. These guys are good. I suspect just now after what Casey told us on Monday night, his company is gonna be clean, but make sure you guys, those first couple of deals, you guys wanna spend a little time going through the HUD one. You wanna spend a few deals, and you're not gonna get the HUD one, like I said, till the day before. They're usually gonna bribe to the last minute in case there's changes. They wanna make sure they're not gonna give you the HUD one unless everything's to the title company and the transaction coordinator has got it. And it may, some lenders, the transaction coordinator is also the underwriter and processor, or it's an individual. You guys hear about the individual guy. If it's Joe Blow off the street with his watches in Times Square and he's doing hard money loans, he's doing all the paperwork. I'm trying to make it so that the EMD and GAP transaction lenders in our group don't have to do a lot of paperwork. I'm trying to cut down about 95%, leaving that to first position lenders and investors because they are going to be set up for that. You guys still want to obviously start developing forms or processes and systems, front office versus back office to run your business. But we have some people that want to be really truly passive. They want to lend money wire and they want to work with the first positions, and some want to be more active. It's up to you 100%. I'm trying to make sure that you guys have every resource to do as you choose. Just like it's your money, you make the decisions, it's your risk tolerance, making sure that you guys have a thorough understanding of how closings work and title companies work, and making sure that, when you get that HUD one, when you get that document, when you see the direction to pay, how you know that you're being paid, no matter what you're doing. If you're a buyer seller, if you're a broker, if you're a EMD GAP transaction lender, or your first business lender, where does the money go? How many places does the money go? The prorations get paid, rents get paid, things like security deposits get, so keep in mind, get the hold harmless. Here's the thing, guys, assignment buyer cannot assign this agreement without express written consent of seller. Guys, I will always recommend leaving that into your B and C, that the buyer cannot assign without the express written consent. That way, they have to let you know, hey, I'm buying it from 200,000. Well, I'm gonna go sell it for 230. Well, if they can sell for 230, why can't you sell it for 230? Hold harmless, and then there's other agreements, and you guys can put any other terms or conditions, the addendums, you guys just see that, see anything, see your rent roll and things like that, see, security deposits must, rent rolls and the security deposits must be, provided to us. You can put those in there. Anything, any kind of terms and conditions, other agreements, right here, be a good time to use find and replace, or just, like I said, copy and paste it right in here, put it in bold, put it in, put in capitals, see addendums. And then you can put C addendums, you can put C exhibits either way, just like in court exhibits. Obviously, seller, buyer initials, remember initial every page. Make sure your documents are clean, all your initials are there, any signatures, every blank, if there's a blank that doesn't apply, NA, making sure you go through there, making sure that all the states are right. The counties, make sure that everything's clean. Guys, you're gonna make a lot more money and have a lot less hassle with clean documents. And I'm trying to make sure that you guys have the best documents out there and we're consistent, and we always recommend, we all want to make money. So with that, guys, I know it's a lot of stuff I just threw at you. I didn't read everything because we'd be here for like 10 hours. So I want you to encourage you guys to download them from the files tab section and just start looking, you can go through and decide if you want to keep it, build your documents. If you're going to be a lender, if you're going to be a wholesaler, get the 3 or 4 documents you need. You're going to be a lender, you could have several document folders. Don't put them all in one document folder. Make them, you might have 3 documents in one, you might have 10 in another one. Build separate folders. That's going to be a much better system, guys.
Okay, Nate, you need to get Gwen. I've set her up with as much as I can find that I can set up. you need to go ahead and get her everything you got.
Yeah.
Access to all groups, the whole 9 yards. So you have to review what I've been able to set her up with. And the same thing goes with all the files and access to that stuff too, and these documents.
Yeah.
So
I
set that
think
up.
he already, I think he already did.
Yeah.
But-
Just at least the group, at least I'm gonna make sure she's in the
Yeah,
EMD group as well. But yeah, and then I'll make sure.
Some of them I couldn't send forward. It wouldn't do it on my system. So I was able to, set her up with a couple of them. And then the subgroups and the chats also, that's another one that she needs to be able to have access into. And I
Yeah, I
haven't quite
mean,
figured out how to do
and
that
I'm
either.
gonna-
So
Well, you can, yeah, no, they can go into this. So anybody that's watching, that's listening, it's not on. So files tab is where all these documents are. All the documents, all the calculators, analyzers, things we're going to be going through. I'm going to make sure that over the next, between now and November 16th, everybody is on these Wednesday nights will see everything that we have there. So at least you've seen it. We're not, you can go through it. You can decide, hey, I'm going to be doing this. I don't need it. At least you see it, so you know where it is. Guides is basically the A to Z self-paced, the self-study. I'm a little bit behind on the guides. I'll get some more put up this week. There'll be a total of about 50. Right now there's about 15, 16. So those are like an A to Z. It's going to basically have basic information. If you're doing solitaire, if you're doing subject to, it's not going to be the thorough in-depth course. But it's going to be enough where you can go through and read it and get an understanding. And if you need to do it, then we're going to make sure we have people that can guide you through the process, other associates who are more experienced. There's a lot of information in there, difference between assignments and options, and Kevin, maybe you can talk about obviously it's a deal that's never going to happen now, but the option, you negotiated on 17th in California for Blue Sky. Yeah, things like that. There's for those guys who aren't in Denver, there's a property. It's the last one in Denver, downtown Denver. It's the last one you can go to the sky. You could build a 300, you could be the tallest building in the world there. So a couple of our associates a couple of years ago before COVID, we're going to buy that, and they were going to build 100, and it's going to be 112 stories. It's going to be one of the tallest buildings in the United States, luxury, high rise, and all that. So Kevin was able to negotiate with the seller. They basically had a lot of properties. This guy buddy. He bought all these properties in Denver. He owned a lot of properties that was developed in the Lodo. If you guys aren't familiar with Lodo, Coors Field is in Lodo. Coors Field was built for the Colorado Rockies in 93, 94. It opened in 95. That whole area was developed. This guy he owned about 20 lots that became skyscrapers. And he bought these lots for maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars back in the 70s and 80s. And now he's selling this lot Kevin, what was it, like 25 million? Was the
yeah,
lot?
and the thing of it is, the people that were trying to get this to develop it didn't even have the sense to be able to secure
Yeah.
the property with an option. And I negotiated the option for $125,000, and it wasn't just the option on the property. The actual building plans and everything that had been approved up to that point go with that option. So they could have sold that option a month or two later and doubled their money just doing that. But
Yeah, and the good thing, like Kevin said, it had the building plans. Everything was approved by the city of Denver. The last building you go to the sky. A lot of buildings in downtown Denver, they won't let you build to the sky because they want you to have that.
premier property in the entire central
Yeah.
Rockies. It wasn't just Denver. And these guys hadn't even secured that. And I was able to negotiate an option on that property. And I really wasn't even a party to it. And it was just, people don't know what they're doing half the time, just neglect some of the most important details when you're doing that. That was probably a $1.2 billion deal that they wouldn't secure with a $150,000 option. The option was an 18-month option on top of that, plenty of time to get done. It had already been through a lot of approval processes. So it was a matter of just coming up with the money to buy the property and get it going. All of the different things that were there, including the contracts, were transferable. I mean,
Yeah.
why would they not do that?
Well, obviously, we know.
They didn't
Obviously,
know how
you
to
and
do
I know how that situation is. I'm trying to go from the
Yeah.
perspective of guys.
But
There's
the
a lot
point
of
is,
options. We're
this
trying to
is-
tell people about options, how to go secure future rights. There's even a thing called
I-
air rights. You guys, there's no other air rights. Los Angeles, people that are up on you guys know Hollywood Hills when you're looking over the city. You guys see those leaves with the Hollywood sign when they're looking over the city. People can buy air rights like, hey, I'm going to buy the air rights above this building so they can't raise it, or they can't tear it down and build a taller building. You know, if you guys ever see the movie Burlesque, it's like Sharon, Christina Aguilera, that was what ended up saving Cher's club, that her character's club at the end of it, because they ended up getting air rights. They got a guy to basically to block a developer that was trying to buy her, and that's how they ended up solving that problem. So there's things like air rights. So in Denver, Denver's kind of built. If you guys haven't been there, it's kind of like a triangle. They don't want to. You know, obviously you're not going to see it if you're at the ground level. There's if you're like the ground level, you're not going to see. You know, in some cases you're down to Denver, you're not going to see the mountains or something. They want people to be able to see at a certain height, still be able to see the mountains to the west. They want to see Pikes Peak to the south and Colorado Springs, and they want to be able to see our capital and our civic center, which is the city of Denver. There's the big park, Colfax, Broadway, Lincoln, all intersect right there. And then our capital, if you guys have seen a picture, our capital has the gold dome, and actually there is real gold flakes in it. They actually just redid it a couple of years ago. It was like a huge, like 2 year long project, but they want people in Denver to see those three views. So this is the last building that was grandfathered. You could go, you guys know that building in Dubai and the building in Malaysia. It was going to be 112 stories, and it was going to be at the top. There's going to be a rooftop patio with a bar. You know, there's going to be retail garage. There's going to have a garage, a system that's going to be around. If you guys look up the Porsche Design Tower in Miami, they had negotiated with that guy to actually use the system, the car elevator. You go drive your Ferrari into the elevator, it's going to take your car to the 100th floor to your penthouse, and you have a garage on the 100th floor, and it had a car elevator, and it was automated, so you could like literally move your car. It was like really cool. I mean, in Miami, those condos are selling for like $50 million, and that was going to be in Denver. There's going to be a lot of apartments and stuff in the middle, retail, restaurants, things like that. So Kevin negotiated the options. So a lot of our guides have descriptions of like what is an option. It's not going to give you all the. It's not going to give you the course or the information on how a lot of times how to execute it. At least at the advanced level, it'll give you like the very basic how to do things. And that's what guides are. Chats. If you guys see the chats, that's where we're going to be posting a lot of videos. But I'm setting up chats. I'm going to have a chat group for each board member. I'm also going to have a chat for the first position lenders. And then we'll have, I'm going to add those. We've also got, so that way you guys have your own, the board members and the first position lenders and the brokers and all that kind of have there where they can list their, that way we're not convoluting the general chat, because you guys can imagine somebody has to go through and go through 200, scroll through 200 posts. So chats, files, and guides, those three areas. And then we'll also be doing some of that in the EMB Gap group. We've got people joining that. And the EMB Gap group will have a subscription rate as well. That'll start in September. It's going to be very nominal. Just, it's like somebody's, we want people to come into that group, public people, and start talking to you guys. I probably get 8 to 10 people a day hitting me up, and I'm trying to deflect them off to you guys, to all the lenders. So, we have 75 people in the group. There's like 56 back. We had a little problem on Sunday morning. So we had to invite a lot of people back. So we got a lot of people coming, 75 people. We want to make sure that everybody has access to everything there and everybody watches it. And when I see the watch hours and I see the people watching the videos on YouTube, you can't see it on the Facebook, but I can see it on the YouTube analytics. So I know people are watching the videos, even if, I think we had like 40 something people last week watch the Wednesday, which was cool. So, I mean, because everybody has 9 to 5s or kids or, shit, kids just went back to school. Yesterday was the first day of school in our town. So it's kind of cool. Well, the kids are back. That's great. It's kind of a nice time of year. But yeah, guys, that's everything I pretty much had tonight. I know there's a few people who kind of came and went, Bill and stuff like that. Some people are like very basic and they'll just watch the video. I have a lot of people just want to watch it on their own time. So that's kind of it's kind of why I talk to people like they're here, even if they're not here. But anyone has any questions, Willie, Doris, Gwen, I'm gonna try to make sure if you guys need anything, I'm available. And then tomorrow, after about 9, I'm basically, I'll be working on this stuff all day tomorrow, and then all day Friday and Saturday. So 3 days, I'll be putting in about 30 hours working on all this stuff. But we're not going to go 2.5 hours tonight. Yeah, if you guys need anything, just let me know though. Making sure you guys can get downloads if I have to email it.
Willie, did you get a chance, you and Glenn, to get together and on that gap funding thing?
Indeed, we did.
Okay, everything cool?
We're gonna try and see if we can make it work.
Outstanding. All right, good to hear that.
Hey, is Barry the guy you tell us about with the Midwest program?
Um,
One day.
Why in the hell can I not think of his name? Our 2021 program graduate, 50 houses.
oh, Cameron.
Yeah,
Cameron
Cameron Berry.
Cameron Barry?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, let's just look him up in the group. He's in there. Let's see it. Yeah, he'll pop up. He's got a kind of a queue. So I mean, just if you need to expedite it, just ask him, hey, can you get on? Tell him you're in the group and all that stuff, and make sure you, because I know he has a lot of people he's talking to. That's a great deal, dude. And I told you guys about the medical bills and all that. I had a 130 point increase in my credit score. I'm going to be able to do that program in January or February, and I'm looking to do that with 50 properties. So that's a good deal for anybody not listening, or actually listening. When I say not listening, you can do 50 rental properties in the Midwest if you got a 660 FICO score or better, and they'll do the acquisition loan, the down payment assistance, and they'll sometimes give you cash in closing. So if you guys need that referral, just at Cameron, CAMREN Barry. He's in our group. He's an associate. He's in our 2021 group. Cameron is awesome. He was like, Kevin was like 23 when he did our course, did our thing in 2021. Now he's like 3 or 4 years later and he's doing 50 deals at a time, 50 houses, rental properties. They have to be in the Midwest. There's your income and your cash flow. There's your assets. And in a couple of years when it seasons, you can refi, you could sell them, you could cross collateralize and whatever. And you got all kinds of options to get into multifamily, or you can sell them and use all the assets to buy apartment complexes, buy storage, buy whatever. So yeah, if anybody wants to get in touch with Cameron, Robert Neighbor's out there still. He was in 2021, Helena. We actually have the guy from England that was on our Monday Zoom last week. He's actually going to be joining this week, so we'll have an associate in the United Kingdom. He has a lot of information on Airbnb and stuff in the United Kingdom, Scotland, Ireland. And then obviously we got Helena in Australia. I forget how to pronounce her name. She'll AIYSHU is an associate. She's in Pakistan. She's actually from Dallas. Her family's from Pakistan. She's there taking care of the probate there. I can't imagine what probate is like in Pakistan. But and then we obviously, Zeepson's in Pakistan. So anybody, I'm always going to reiterate, anybody needs logos, websites, any kind of branding, Zeeshan at ZEESHAN. He's in the group. He's in all my groups. I've been working with him for 5 years. Just remember, and he's very responsive. He's in Pakistan. He's in Lahore. Actually, they're both in Lahore, which is kind of interesting. You guys know there's like Lahore, there's Islamabad, and then there's like Abbottabad. Abbottabad is where their West Point is. Ironically, their West Point was like less than a mile from where Osama bin Laden was hiding in that compound. It was like a military town. It was like weird. So guys, we got a lot of stuff going on. So like I said, next week, Monday, we'll have our onboarding. Hopefully get some more. I think I got 19 people. Last week we had 5 or 6 come on. We had 5 or 6 before. Out of that, we're probably going to get 5 or 6 out of that 12 joining associate level. We're trying to get information to them. Some of them are EMD funders that can work with you guys. And then we've got Monday night will be funding. We need to get all the stuff dialed in for the funding committee, funding board. And then obviously we'll do Wednesday night next week, operating agreements, cost of capital calculator, and you guys will have those 4 forms. You'll have 2 variations of deed of trust. You'll have a couple mortgage, notes and stuff like that, and another contract. And you guys will have all that to go over the 2 weeks before the next session after Labor Day. And then we're rock and rolling. I want to get this thing going. Everybody wants to make money. If you guys can do it now, if you feel comfortable, it's up to you. You can work with Casey, work with Lily, anybody that's not on. But, work with these people. Some of the EMD guys that are coming on now, like I said, I know Brian wants to get he needs to get the documents in the process before he's able to actually start loaning. So he did tell me that today. So it'll probably take him a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get everything on board. He's got a couple of his associates, so kind of give them when they're new. They've still got to get kind of on board and get their systems done before they're going to be 100% ready to lend money. So Just because they come onto a session or 2 or 3 doesn't mean they're ready to go, but they will be. We got to make them like, hey, let's but I want to be running up and running, everything running public that first week in September. So we're just a couple weeks away. We've come a long way. But guys, I think it's 7:13. So yeah, we went not quite 2 hours, hour and 45. I feel good. I will post this for everybody that's watching or not watching. It'll probably be about an hour and a half to have to process it on Zoom, and then I have to process it on YouTube. And YouTube's where it took me 90 minutes to process Monday nights. And you guys notice it was in high def instead of standard def. That was a mistake. Like I can do standard def, but I like the high def. It's just, dude, it's like 30 minutes on here, and then it's in like 90 minutes to process on YouTube. So I'm gonna take off the recording and